Hi, it's Steve with Coin Stuff I Like, and if you have followed my videos, you know that among the coin stuff I like are Eisenhower dollars. And this time I want to bring you a video about a really amazing, uh, unique Ike variety, the Type 1 reverse of the 1971 S proof Eisenhower dollar. Cherry Picker's Guide FS 901. And this coin has a great story behind it, so let's get into it. The uh, the Type 1 reverse Eisenhower dollar is a proof, and it has a high relief proof design like pretty much all the other Eisenhower 1971 S proofs. This one has a peg leg, which means it was from dies that were used earlier in the production of Eisenhower proofs. Later on in the production, they added a sort of a faux serif at the bottom, what's called the funny foot, and the serif are 1971 S proofs are later in the production run of 1971 S proofs. So this one has that, which is, that's pretty garden variety, um, but very atypical for 1971 S proofs. It has a Type 1 reverse Earth. And if you look at this image, you can see that it has islands that are in relief and more horizontal. We'll get into this in just a little bit, but that's what makes it unique, highly collectible, and absolutely uncommon, rare, if you will. The 1971 S proof with a Type 1 reverse. All right, let's look a little bit more into it. The obverse, of course, has the peg leg. This is what it looks like. Uh, Pretty much every one of these Type 1 reverse 1971 S proofs has a obverse die that hasn't really been polished much, which means most of the R is still present. It is a fading peg leg here. It's the standard peg leg, design peg leg of the earlier part of the 1971 S production. They there are There are two different obverses. So one single reverse, but perhaps two obverses married to that reverse. So the one that I've seen, and I've seen multiple images of, is the one that has a In God We Trust. It has doubling that is very close to what we see in the FS 103 double die obverse of the 1971 S proofs. So very similar. There are a number of look-alike um, uh, double die obverses similar to the FS 103. This is one of them. The mint mark placement is another marker for this particular die that has this doubling, and this placement is not the same as the FS 103. So this is not a FS 103 obverse, a true FS 103, but does have doubling similar, and purportedly there may be a second obverse paired to that same reverse. I don't have images of that. But it would require studying a number of the existing known Type 1 reverse 1971 S proofs. So that's what the obverse looks like. The reverse, as I mentioned, has a Type 1 reverse. This is a Type 1 reverse. The islands are in relief. They're more horizontal in orientation. There's three of them, and uh, the the westernmost island, the large island, is right at the tip of Florida. Type three, that the islands extend into the Gulf, extend west of the tip of Florida. So this is a type one, which was commonly used. It is the reverse that's used with a 1971S business strike Ike, but not the proofs. All the proofs, 1971 proofs, uh, have a type 2 earth by design. That's where the general pairing is with a type 2 earth, and there's only a handful of these that have the type 1 reverse. So somehow dyes that were being um, being considered for the 1971S business strike and all of the 1971 um, uh, copper nickel business strikes from Philadelphia and Denver um, had a type 1 earth. Well, I have to throw in an exception of the Friendly Eagle from 1971D, but let's put that aside. We'll cover that in another video. They're supposed to look like this, the 1971S proofs. That's what they're supposed to look like. In Coos Islands, oriented a little bit from northwest to southeast. Also, if you look at the eastern coast of the United States, Florida is almost vertical. There's almost a vertical on the eastern coast, where in the type 1 earth, Florida forms a little bit more of an angle relative to the east coast of the United States than what you see here. So, very distinctive. You have a proof, and it has these islands, the type 1 earth. You've got something. And I have to say, this is one of the white whales of my my collecting, and is the white whale of my Eisenhower collecting. So that's what we have, and there's only two of these things. They're first discovered in 1997, and there's only two known up until 2013. Well, in 2013, Andy Oskam, who's one of the Ike group, important members of the Ike group, actually discovered this on eBay, and this box looks a lot like most of the 1971S brown boxes that they came in, except this one was special. It has a different emblem, and it has a embossed Richard Nixon signature on the box. So he found these, and of course, not only was the box unique, but inside there was a Type 1 reverse, 1971S proof, and it also had that double die obverse that was similar to FS 103. So this was a major find, because the earlier ones, there weren't much known about them in terms of what they came in. This is the first one that we've discovered, or was discovered in Nixon presentation box. I actually investigated this. The box is made in Massachusetts. I contacted the company to see if they had records of how many of these boxes that had the Richard Nixon signature, and they couldn't give me that number. But they did manufacture these boxes that were for presentation by Richard Nixon to dignitaries. Now, the presentations occurred in the White House Oval Office as early as July 27, 1971. This is Mamie Eisenhower getting a presentation from Richard Nixon of the Ike dollar. And so the 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 thinking is that the presentation boxes were made for Richard Nixon to give specifically to dignitaries, and as early as July 27, 1971. So this created a puzzle for knowledgeable Ike collectors, particularly us in the Ike group. And that puzzle is this. We have mint records for the production records of the 1971 S Ike proofs. And the mint records says that the first Ike proofs were produced in September of 1971. They did 2,180 in September of 1971. And then in December 1971, about 1.2 million. March of 1972, they're still producing the 1971 S Ike proofs, and they produced over 2.8 million in March, and even continued into June of 1972, where they produced almost 250,000 in June of 1972. Now, just as an aside, it's felt that these earlier productions in September, December had the Ike proof, the 1971 S proof with the peg leg, and these latter ones were the 1971 S Ike proofs that had that funny foot serif, had the serif added to it. I've done another video on that, so take a look and learn more about that. But it brings us back to the question, they didn't start producing these until September. So what was going into these boxes in prior to July, because this is when the presentation started happening. So the conjecture is that the mint put together some Ike proofs for presentation and to put in these boxes so President Nixon could do the presentations. Now, we know from mint records again that early in 1971, they're still doing design modifications, they're doing prototype strikes. Usually, whenever they did test strikes or trial strikes, they struck them up and then they melted them. But that they were playing around with various die and design styles, and probably they took a Type 1 reverse die, proofed it up, and combined it with the most recent die being considered for the 1971 S proofs, and struck up some of these presentation coins. One really respected die variety expert had taken a look at these and noted that the Type 1 reverse had a low relief and appeared to have resulted from doming of the working hub, which this particular expert also wrote that the procedure cupping the die is rarely used and experimental in nature. So they probably took dies that were not ready for prime time, so to speak, and struck up presentation pieces for these boxes, resulting in the 1971 S proof with a Type 1 reverse. All right, that's a little bit of conjecture, but it's pretty reliable to make that conjecture, I think. Now, there are still only a few known as of 2013. That was like number 3, right? And but it was the first time the Richard Nixon presentation box was known. Fast forward to 2023, 10 years later, and another well-known collector, at least to me, Daryl Gomez, found a hoard of 9 Nixon presentation boxes, 9 of them. And as far as I know, they all had Type 1 reverse 1971S proofs. That's striking because 1971S Type 1 reverse proofs usually go for about $25,000 to $30,000. And Heritage Auction had in 2023 had an auction go for $30,000. It depends on the grade, of course, but $25,000 to $30,000 for these coins, and 9 of them in this hoard that Daryl Gomez happened to find. So that's even more amazing. So we thought there's just a handful, but then there's 9 more. And now, as of today, making this video, here are the current population reports of the major third-party graders. Now, ICG may have some 1 or 2, because I think the first discovered were originally graded by ICG. I checked with Annex, there's none in the Annex population report, but there are ones that appear in PCGS, NGC, and CACG as of today. And so PCGS has a total of 10 that they have graded, and this is the breakdown, 69 to 67. One of them is Cameo, and 9 of them are Deep Cam. NGC has 3 in their pop report. 2 as Ultra Cameo, which is a decam. 1 is a Cameo, and there's the breakdown. 67 for the Cameo, 68, 69 for the decams. And then CACG. Now remember, CACG grading company, and these are all graded, and they don't, CAC does not put stickers on Ike proofs. That was one of the exclusions that the sticker company made. But CACG grading has graded 13 of these. I suspect that at least some of them may have come from here. I don't know this for certain. That's pure conjecture. But CACG has 13 of them that they have graded: 6, 69, 268, 267, and 366. So the total number of known. Now, I have to stop here and say population reports are tricky because collectors are going to sometimes attempt to cross over coins, whether they're breaking them out or crossing them over. They're trying to get coins in different holders, hopefully at higher grades. So if a coin crosses over, that means that sometimes it's not taken off of the other company's pop report. So when you start totaling things up, as I've done at the bottom row, it may be overrepresented. There may be some crossovers involved here, but I'll give you the totals for what we know from the major third-party grading companies. 26 total Type 1 reverse 1971S Ike proofs. That is a rarity, and that's why they command $25,000 to $30,000 for one of these coins. Now, one of the other factors is that these are, at least in a PCGS registry for complete Ike proofs, So we add it to the registry. That makes it even, have a little bit more demand for the high-end registry owners. So again, it's rare. It's in a registry. And it's a fascinating story. That's why they're commanding these kind of dollars. So there you have it. This is an amazing Ike dollar, the 1971 S with the Type 1 reverse. This is a proof, not this 1971 S business strike. So peg leg obverse proof, high relief proof design. The reverse is the low relief design, proofed out, and it has a Type 1 reverse. So here's wishing that you find one of these. There are probably not that many out there, given that they probably didn't strike up a lot of these things, and they're probably more for that early presentation period. Nevertheless, it's an amazing coin. Thank you for watching. Remember, be smart about what you buy, but buy stuff you like. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.